Hey everyone and welcome. Today we're going to take a journey through literally thousands of years of history to understand one of the world's oldest and most resilient civilizations, Iran, a land that many of us also know by its other historic name, Persia.
Okay, so to kick things off, let's start with this really powerful idea from the philosopher Hegel. When he called the Persians the first historical people, what did he mean? Well, he was talking about the start of a unified empire that didn't just conquer people, it created a new kind of history, one of administration, of culture, and an influence that would genuinely shape the world for centuries.
So, to get our heads around this huge story, we're going to break it down into 6 main chapters. We'll start at the very beginning, look at its time as a global superpower, see how it transformed under Islam, then how it forged a new identity, got caught up in colonial games, and finally, the revolutions that created the Iran we know today. Right, let's start where it all began, the vast Iranian plateau. Now, this place isn't just some dusty backdrop for history. We're talking about a region where cities and cultures have been thriving continuously for over 7,000 years. It's a true cradle of civilization.
And what's really fascinating is that the story of Iran has always been bigger than its modern borders. There's this concept of Greater Iran, which is basically this massive cultural footprint. Think of it stretching all the way from parts of Turkey to the edge of India, all connected by the huge influence of Persian language, art, and ideas.
So how did this cultural heartland give rise to some of the ancient world's first true superpowers? Well, from this foundation, a whole series of incredibly powerful dynasties emerged, and each one built an empire that was, for its time, the biggest and most advanced the world had ever seen.
And this timeline just shows you that thousand-year-long run of dominance. It all kicks off with the Medes, who are the first to unify the Iranian tribes. But then you get Cyrus the Great, who creates the Achaemenid Empire, a genuine global superpower. And even after Alexander the Great comes through, Iranian power just reemerges with the Parthians, who were serious rivals to Rome, and then the Sassanians, who carried that torch for another 400 years.
You know, the really crucial thing about that first Persian superpower under Cyrus wasn't just its incredible size, but its whole new way of running an empire. See, instead of just crushing the cultures they conquered, the Achaemenids practiced this amazing degree of tolerance. They let people keep their local customs and their religions. It was a totally radical idea, and it's a big part of what held their massive empire together.
So the fall of that last great Persian empire, the Sassanians, to Arab armies in the 7th century, that was a seismic event. But here's the thing. It wasn't the end of the Persian story, not even close. Instead, it was the start of one of the most unique cultural transformations you'll find anywhere in history.
And this slide right here captures the absolute key to understanding this whole era. On the one hand, yes, Iranians adopted Islam. In fact, Persian scholars became central figures in the Islamic Golden Age. But, and this is a huge but, they fiercely resisted being Arabized. They held on tight to their Persian language, their poetry, their traditions, which led to this incredible cultural rebirth, a Persian Renaissance that carved out their own unique identity inside the wider Muslim world.
The historian Bernard Lewis just puts it perfectly here. The Iranian contribution was so huge that it basically created a new Persian-flavored version of Islamic civilization. This Persian Islam was the version that would then spread to the Turks, across Central Asia, and all the way into India.
Okay, so after the absolute devastation of the Mongol invasions in the 13th century, Iran was just politically shattered. But out of all that chaos and foreign rule, a new, unified Iran was about to be born, with an identity that would define it for the next 500 years. And the whole story pivots on this one year, 1501. A local Iranian dynasty, the Safavids, rises up and reunites the country. This is a massive deal. For the first time in 850 years, Iran is an independent, unified state, actually ruled by Iranians again. But the Safavids did something else that was maybe even more important for the future. They made Twelver Shia Islam the official state religion. This single decision created a deep and lasting religious divide with its Sunni neighbors, like the powerful Ottoman Empire, and it cemented a core piece of Iran's unique identity that is absolutely central to understanding it today.
All right, let's fast forward a bit to the 19th century. After centuries of being a major power, a weaker Iran found itself in a really tough spot, caught right in the middle of two of the world's biggest expanding empires, Russia pushing down from the north and Great Britain pushing in from the east in India.
In this table, well, it shows the painful results. After a couple of devastating wars with Russia, Iran was forced to sign these treaties, and they lost their historic territories in the Caucasus, forever. This was a huge blow that basically redrew the map of the whole region. And all that pressure came to a head in 1907 with the Anglo-Russian Convention. Basically, without even asking the Iranian government, Britain and Russia just drew lines on a map. They carved the country up into zones of influence to serve their own interests, treating Iran not like a country but like a pawn in their geopolitical great game.
So you can imagine this experience of being dominated by foreign powers fueled a serious desire for change, and it kicks off the most turbulent century in Iran's entire history. 100 years of revolution, rapid modernization, more foreign meddling, and ultimately the birth of a totally new kind of state.
And this here shows you the dramatic chain reaction. First, the Pahlavi dynasty takes over, trying to force Iran to become a modern, secular nation. That path leads to the 1953 coup, where the US and UK help overthrow a popular prime minister, which just entrenches the Shah's power. And that, in turn, fuels the anger that explodes in the 1979 Islamic Revolution, which sweeps away the monarchy and creates the Islamic Republic.
Now, this new republic was built on a very unique political idea called velayat-e-faqih, which means the guardianship of the Islamic jurist. At its core, this concept gives the final say on everything, both political and religious, to the top religious scholar, the supreme leader. It basically created a modern theocracy.
And the 4 decades since then have been defined by one huge challenge after another. You have the absolutely brutal 8-year war with Iraq, a really hostile relationship with the West, the whole saga of the nuclear program and sanctions, and of course, major protest movements from within the country itself. All of this has forged the Iran of today.
Which brings us right up to the present day and leaves us with this one final massive question. We've just seen a civilization that has survived conquests, that has reinvented itself time and time again, and has held on to this powerful sense of its own identity for thousands of years. So, as it faces all the pressures of the 21st century, what do you think the next chapter in this incredible story is going to look like?
Hey, if you enjoyed that quick history, we've got a whole playlist of them covering countries all over the world that you should definitely check out next. And if you want to keep getting smarter about the world with us, make sure you hit that subscribe button for notebook summaries.